Hey anime fans, this is Chris Bolts coming in with another video, and on this one it's going to be a little different. It will be anime related, but it's going to talk about something that I really despise about media in general, with regards to print media, whether it be mainstream media or in this case right here, pop culture media, and that's the deceptiveness of headlines. And as you can see right here, it says Solo Leveling was not America's most streamed anime series of the year. But before I do get into the article, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff helps me out. And if you really watch this video all the way to the end, I really appreciate your support. All of that really does help me out. It tremendously does. This article was written by Nick Guastella, and this is in reference to some news that came out that Dan Da Dan was the most watched anime of the year for 2024. Now, that is a little bit deceptive in my view, because what this article is relying on is Nielsen's ratings, and Nielsen for the most part does not really track any type of anime or anything of that nature. Pretty much they stick to pretty much the big streaming platforms such as your Netflix, your Paramount Pluses, your HBO Max, and Disney Plus. When they're giving out these numbers and everything, they're only looking at the shows that show up on those particular platforms. Nielsen ratings does not take into consideration other platforms such as Crunchyroll or High Dive, in which Crunchyroll happens to be the largest anime streaming service in the country, if not the world. In this particular article right here, it says that Dan Da Dan anime adaptation stems from the anime being truly multi-platform. That's not correct, because as I just mentioned earlier, it's not mentioned in the Nielsen ratings because Crunchyroll does not provide first-party data for its streaming habits or viewing habits to Nielsen. So it couldn't be any part of the multi-platform ratings or anything like that. Over on, at least on Crunchyroll, Dan Da Dan was not watched as much as it was thought or anything like that. In fact, there was stories Crunchyroll was purposely not promoting Dan Da Dan as much as it wanted to, because it didn't win the full streaming rights for Dan Da Dan. That's why you were able to see Dan Da Dan on either Netflix or Crunchyroll. And so this leads me to an article that was written by the really great Anime by the Numbers. And Anime by the Numbers is a Substack service that primarily specializes in looking at anime from a quantitative perspective. And this particular article right here, they do a deeper dive into the viewing habits and the ratings for Dan Da Dan, and they come away with a completely different perspective on this as well. So starting off right here, it says, according to the report, Dan Da Dan was the most watched anime in the United States for the 2024 winter season. It had 2.6 million unique viewers from 18 to 49 in the first 7 months. And it was notably the only anime to make either Nielsen's list of the 100 most watched TV shows among US adults. That right there should automatically make you skeptical. And this rating was verified by the Independent Media Ratings Council. And again, that right there should already make you suspect. Like, wait a minute, all this anime that's been watched, and the one that won anime of the year, Solo Leveling, didn't make this list as well. That should cause people to stop and think. It's like, wait a minute, we gotta sit there and go back and pull back and dig deeper into the numbers and see what's going on there. And that's what Anime by the Numbers did, because they said according to their analysis, it didn't make much sense. Dan Da Dan was absolutely not the most watched anime in the U.S. in this time period. And we know that because Solo Leveling, once again, was just the hot product that just was everywhere. Now, whether you like Solo Leveling or didn't like Solo Leveling is irrelevant. It's the fact of the matter is that a lot of people happen to be watching this particular anime. They also made mention of the fact that Crunchyroll was not taken into consideration with the Nielsen ratings, but they also looked at another one, which I was kind of glad that Nielsen really doesn't focus on, and that's this right here. It says Nielsen outright misses most Crunchyroll and piracy viewership. They should not take into consideration piracy viewership whatsoever, and I don't think Nielsen ratings would ever do such a thing. Can you imagine if Nielsen ratings said, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and consider those piracy views in these numbers and sell that information to advertisers. Advertisers would balk at using such data, and more importantly, the media companies like Netflix, Crunchyroll, the broadcast networks, the cable networks, they would also balk at that, and they would be rightly incensed that thievery was being included in the overall numbers. I think that is poor on the part of Anime by the Numbers to go in there and say that should have been considered, or rather that Nielsen should have. They imply that Nielsen should have included those numbers, when in fact, no, they should not. It should go ahead and leave that stuff out of there. And see, they go on to the next paragraph, and they pretty much admit that for most television, glossing over piracy is probably fine and matches the report's incentives. But then they go into the next paragraph and says anime has a deep history of piracy. Whether or not anime has a deep history with piracy is wholly irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, Nielsen should only provide quality data that actually provides the accurate picture of legal viewing habits, if you will. And so in that regard, Crunchyroll definitely should have been mentioned in those, or at least Nielsen should have made an estimation. They should have some type of metric in place where they can estimate viewership totals over on Crunchyroll if Crunchyroll would not freely give that information over to Nielsen. So let's go right down to this last bold right here. So why is Nielsen measuring viewership this way? The first and most obvious explanation is the methodology. Exactly. They said Nielsen would ask a representative panel of Americans to keep a diary of everything they watched on TV, but as technology improves, so did their methodology. I agree with this part right here, that as we started getting more and more streaming services and being able to do what's called digital recording, for some of you guys who are too young, you probably don't know what digital recording was, but prior to streaming, we used to be able to do have these devices called TiVo or digital recorders, where you would just be able to record episodes and then go back and rewatch those at any point in time that you wanted to. Now that type of technology went by the wayside much quicker than what the VHS, with its predecessor. The streaming service came out right around I want to say 2005, 2006 is when streaming really started hitting its stride, or its infancy rather. Could be a little bit more than that, because Netflix really was the first one to go in there and offer live streaming services of television and whatnot. That all of that took place and impacted how Nielsen would be able to deliver its viewership ratings. Going down to the last paragraph right here, it says, our research indicates that Nielsen does not appear to get any first-party viewership data from anime-specific streaming services such as Crunchyroll or HiDive. And so that's the problem with Nielsen, is they have to rely upon these outlets to get that data. And if they don't, they have to go in there and create a metric that can go in there and be able to estimate that. And right here is another good thing that Anime by the Numbers actually includes as well. The breakdown of where people watch their anime, and you see right there, the smartphone is the number one place, followed by the laptop, and right behind the laptop, just real close behind, is smart TV. I've tried watching the anime from the desktop. That's not very fun at all, because you're sitting up straight and everything. You're not lounging, not relaxed or anything. I think that has a lot to do with the first three, is that you're able to lounge and relax when you're watching your anime. Whereas the desktop computer, if you're sitting in your chair, that is going to be pretty much an arduous task. And I like this last one right here. It says CT device such as Roku. I'm surprised that one is pretty low. But it does make sense, because of the smart TV and the laptop, they are able to carry it out. Smartphone too, They are able to carry all the types of streaming services on there, like Crunchyroll, like the Netflix. So it negates the need to go in there and get a Roku. But for me personally, I like using a Roku. Roku is the primary way that we watch television in my home. I don't watch a lot of television on my phone or anything like that. I find that screen to be a bit too small. I don't use a laptop. And the smart TV, I hate the services on the smart TV. I just gravitate away from those. So it's the Roku for me. So this is a really good article right here from Anime by the Numbers on this, that basically just dispels this notion that Dandadan was the most viewed anime for 2024. When only one streaming service and only one anime makes their top 100, that should give us all pause to sit there and say, hey, you know what? That doesn't sound right to us or anything like that. And in fact, if we go back over to the first article right here, you look at the comment sections on that Screen Rant article, it's a good thing they were including Netflix, because everyone watched Solo Leveling on Netflix, right? That's exactly correct, because there was hardly any conversation about Dandadan, and I like Dandadan. Dandadan's a really good anime, but the conversation that really dominated last year for anime was Solo Leveling. That actually caused trends on Twitter, on YouTube, Instagram, or a lot of TikTok, a lot of other social media places. Another thing, this is just anecdotal too, but when I saw the Dandadan Evil Eye movie twice, and both times, for a show that is supposed to be the quote-unquote most watched anime of 2024, according to Screen Rant's interpretation of Nielsen's ratings, nobody showed up to watch that movie or anything. I would say that the theaters were probably not even 25% full or anything like that. But let's take a look at the box office numbers for Dandadan Evil Eye and see how much is pulled in so far. $4 million, so $4.77 million. That doesn't sound like that is the performance of a show that had the number one, or that was the most watched anime for 2024. I think we got to be careful when we go in there and put out titles that are misleading. Because this right here is a very misleading title. Solo Leveling probably was the most watched anime of 2024. We won't be able to verify that unless Crunchyroll decides to come out and give their first party information. But you got enough anecdotal evidence to suggest that it was the talk of the town. The fact that it won multiple anime awards, even though some people have controversies with that. The fact that there was low performance for Dandadan Evil Eye. So right now it's creeping to $5 million. It was only opened in 52 theaters, but that's still, I think Demon Slayer, when Demon Slayer Mugen Train came out, that movie actually did pretty well. See, look at that. That's only over in, I think most of that's over in Japan. Over here in the States, it did 50 million. Let's not get it twisted here. Dandadan Evil Eye is, or rather Dandadan the series, probably was not the most watched anime of 2024, and it probably wasn't even close. It more than likely was Solo Leveling that was. But those are my thoughts and comments on the issue. You guys jump down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. Do you think Dandadan really was the most watched anime of 2024, or do you think that's kind of suspect, and that Solo Leveling probably eclipsed it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down in the comments, let me know. Let's have a discussion on that. And make sure you guys do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really helps me out. And remember, this is Chris Bolts signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. You take it easy.